All right, Ron Paul Liberty Report continued. I should have added to this part about what's happening in Berlin, but I'll get it now.
As well. Look at this, Dr. Paul. This is the Brandenburg Gate. Wow. Absolutely packed, full of Germans. And let's do another one, too. And I watched a lot of this live. See, they're protesting against the mask. Nobody's wearing a mask there. Look at that. Contrast that even to Texas, where we value our independence. And, no one's wearing a mask. A million people in the streets saying, we've had enough. We're taking back our freedom. And I watched it live, and they were just average people. But the New York Times...
I got to say one thing here. I live in Carpinteria, California, and our beaches have been just packed with people the last few days. Great weather here. And I'd say less than 5% of the people are wearing masks. Now, you get away from the beach, and there are a few more masks walking the street. And but it just looked to me like people are just blowing it off. They're not even protesting or anything. They're just having fun at the beach.
And you mentioned this in your piece today. You really captured it. The New York Times called them all a bunch of Nazis and conspiracy theorists. That's how they just discount anyone. But there are also protests elsewhere in Europe and I think UK, Netherlands, other places. People are getting fed up. They're demanding their freedom. They're taking off their masks. They've had it. And that's a very good news story.
The way I see what's happening in our country is something is being accomplished that foreign enemies never could. We've lived through the 20th century. We had the fascists and the communists and the violence and the wars and all, but we never gave up our liberties. But now we're doing this, and it's internal. That's why the founders were smart enough to talk about foreign and domestic. We're doing this to ourselves. I mean, no invader came in, but it was an invasion of ideas, an invasion of demagoguery, lying, and people have been coerced. And this just didn't pop up in the last month or two. This has been popping up probably since the 30s as the infiltration of the professors who teach this stuff. Raised up a generation after a generation. That's the way I could see it very clearly in Washington, how the education system of the last 40 or 50 years taught everybody to be a Keynesian and not even know about a monetary system. I had one person, which was a pretty weird story, somebody on the banking committee, after I brought up the subject of gold, and it talked a little bit about it, and the congresswoman came over to me afterwards and had to be a little quiet. She's Ron, are we still on the gold standard? And I thought, she's been to public school, and this is what's going on here. They listen to this, and we're doing it to ourselves. That's what's so sad. But that's also the reason that I claim it's an ideological war. There's now violence coming about it, but that's secondary. That's secondary because what's going to happen if Antifa and Black Lives Matter keep doing this and burning the cities down, believe me, there's going to be retaliation. But I think it's amazingly quiet compared to the damage done to the cities and the outrage of people doing this and the police joining them, mayors joining them, and then going back trying to get money from us, the people who didn't do it, and then they say, oh yeah, the federal government needs to come in here and rebuild this city. This is so weird and odd and evil.
Well, I'm not big on walls, but I sort of wish they'd build a wall around Texas because all these people are trying to escape the mayhem and they're trying to come over here. But it is dangerous, and I wonder now, even if some of our big leaders are starting to wake up to the damage they caused with what they've done to our economy and our society. And we both saw that Scott Gottlieb, the former FDA director, he was on CNBC Squawk Box, I think over the weekend, and he said, well, hang on a little bit, we need to strike a balance between lockdown, which you mentioned, the governor of New Jersey, who's one of the worst. He's put people on notice, we're going to lock you down. We've got to do a balance between that and our need to fight the disease. He's trying to sound moderate. I think he's trying to triangulate his message because he sees what's happening. And, our thought when seeing that was, too little, too late. Now you tell us, after you look around and see the absolute and utter devastation, and it's all starting to hit. You probably saw things over the weekend about evictions starting, mass evictions of people. They haven't paid their rent since April when they lost their jobs. the fight for more free money to people who've had their livelihoods taken away from them. So I think they are starting to wake up and look around, and I hope they will continue to do so and start feeling some heat.
Some people have a misunderstanding of what it would be like in a libertarian society. That mean no mask, no mask. No, there's no prohibition.
Yeah.
It's voluntary. But this whole idea of the mask is supposed to, protect everybody. But the individual, if they don't wear the mask, if it's protecting that individual, he takes his own risk. But if you didn't have the government there dependent and responsible for everybody's every illness, and then they use the argument, oh yeah, he's going to get sick and we're going to have to take care of him. But now they can be fined, they can be jailed, and they can literally be incarcerated for this. But one of the worst punishments they're getting now, and this is not by accident, it is the attack by their fellow citizens,
Yeah.
their fellow community people, because the anger that is shown, with people who, all they have done is not wear their mask. I saw an episode the other day on somebody buying a pizza. The guy with the mask and wanted to discipline the customer got so angry he turned around and dumped all the showcases over it. He was
Insane.
just like a...
Well, I'm going to keep it short, but it's worth watching the whole thing. It's on YouTube, the Ron Paul Liberty Report, August 3rd. It's so good. And anyway, I hope you'll watch it. Thank you so much.